Okay, so my name is well, Raul Palma. I am the coordinator of Reliance Project, and I am the head of the Data Analytics and Semantics Department at Poznan Supercomputing and Networking Center in Poland. And so basically what we have been working during the last years in the context of Reliance is in bringing some research enabling services in support of fair and open science. So what I'm going to talk to you a little bit today is about RoHub, which is like one of the core services of Reliance, which is about enabling the management of research through the concept of arrow crates, which is one of the standards for, or the current standard for the specification and representation of research objects. So I was going to give you like a very short presentation, like a context of the research objects, and then go to a demo, like I directly work with the platform, if that's so. So let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, so, well, basically, if we talk about RoHub itself, is a solution for the management of research objects. So it basically provides all the different functionalities for the storage, lifecycle management, preservation of research objects. You can also share and make these resources available to others, of course. You can publish and release them using DOIs. So we are generating also DOIs. And of course, you can use the platform as well to discover and reuse pre-existing scientific knowledge. So the reference platform itself is basically because it implements natively the arrow crate model and paradigm. So it was created from scratch using the research object paradigm. But we, of course, support many different stakeholders. Our focus is on scientists and researchers, of course, but it can also be, supporting like industry or other types of stakeholders. And RoHub is created in such a way that there is like a backend service, which can be used as a backbone to many different applications. And of course, we create like a generic portal, which is the RoHub portal, that brings like a generic user interface for the users in general. I have to say that during the last several years, we have been mostly focused on earth science researchers. So that's why also in this call for EOS, we have been working directly with different earth science communities. In particular, we have contact with super sites, these ones working with volcanoes and eruptions and that kind of things, impacts on the environment. Then we also have like climate change communities, and we also have communities working with the sea monitoring. So yeah, basically from many different countries. So the service is already integrated in EOS, case of course onboarded, but it's also integrated with many other services, as I will show you in a moment. But in order to understand, of course, all of these concepts, we need to go back to what is the research object, right? So the research object is basically like a logical container, which aims to account, describe, and share everything about a particular research, including the context of how things are connected, the people that are involved in the investigation, the organization that are supporting the investigation, everything, the context and the resources. This is packed in the research object. So that's how you can see it. So why is this necessary? Well, it's very simple, because in any kind of research that you are aware, normally the resources are spread across many different locations. So for example, you have workflows in different kind of repositories, you have software in like GitHub or some other repositories, you have presentations, articles, you have data in Zenodo, etc. So there are many different resources associated to a particular investigation. And these are already in many different places. So what the research object is doing is trying to provide an integrated view over all of these fragmented resources. So the resources are staying in the location that they are. We are not making any copy. We are not duplicating or anything like that. The resources can stay wherever they are. Of course, you can also put physically the resources inside the research object, but basically they can and this is the main goal, is that allow the resources to stay on the particular repositories that they are. And then we put, of course, all of these contexts, like I said, researchers, organizations, etc. And then this gives us like a mini graph, which is we call like contextualized graph, which is basically the graph of your research. Okay, so of course, the research object can be managed in its own. So you can have versions of the research object, you can transfer the research object, and so on. So inside, this is how it looks like. So basically, you have like a metadata file, which is describing the structure of the research object and the files or resources inside the research object. As I said, this can be links to web resources, or they can be also physical resources. And the whole package has also a permanent identifier. And this is, with some resources inside. You can see here, you have, for example, the author at the research object, the organization, the license, but also at the level of the content, you have like, links to the resources on the web, GitHub, Zenodo, etc. That's more or less how the research objects looks like. And just to say a few words, this is the ArrowCrate in a nutshell. Basically, it's a open effort. It's a very open community. A lot of people is involved in this. And we are providing like a practical approach, like I said, to manage and package research, basically. So of course, you are always welcome to join here, but there is a lot of people already behind this initiative. So, okay, so with that being said, we can go to RoHub.
May I ask a quick question, Narul? So essentially what you're saying is that these research objects, can I say that they're essentially like a proxy to the locations of where we store the information about our research?
In very simplistic form, yes, it's like a proxy with some additional context. So of course, you attach to this proxy the context of these resources, basically, right? So there is the important thing here is that all of these context, this metadata that you are associating, of course, is not only user readable, but also machine readable metadata, and it's following the linked data approach, basically, right? So that's how it looks.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. So Benjamin, yes.
Hi, Raul. Sorry for being a bit late. There was another meeting. Two questions. One, how do you actually, so is there like a minimal requirement for this metadata? So basically that you say these metadata fields need to be filled to ensure the quality of the data that is shared. So I see you nodding, that means yes.
Yeah. If you want, you go to the next one and then I will.
Okay, the second question is, what kind of data is shared? So can this be any kind of data? Can this be, I don't know, like what data formats are used and so on? Okay,
so regarding the minimum metadata, so there is, of course, like a very simplistic way of creating research objects that allows you to specify a very small amount of metadata to create the research object itself. The platform is requesting some basic metadata. So whenever you create a research object, there are some obligatory fields that you must fill. Of course, we try to make it like, as flexible as possible, so to encourage people to do something, right? Even if they are not having like a very well, for example, describe or annotated the information. But we have services that are checking the quality of the research object. So they, for example, check that they fulfill minimum requirements in terms of the metadata or in terms of the accessibility to the resources. And based on these requirements, the research object can get a score, like, how well documented and how well created is the research object, basically. So this is one service that we call the completeness. I will talk a little bit on that. And the other one is fairness as well. So we have just recently created, well, in collaboration with other our colleagues in Reliance, a service which is called Fair ROS. So fair research objects, which basically is verifying the fairness of the research object and also the fairness of the resources inside the research object. So this is like an aggregation of the score of the fairness of the research. So this is very new now. It's still in development version of RoHub, the deployment, but it will be in production quite soon as well. And regarding the second question, yeah, so you can basically, aggregate any kind of resource that is related to your research, basically. So then you are able to decide, to specify what kind of resource it is, the formats and that kind of thing. So it's really completely agnostic to the content of the resources that you are adding to the research object. Yeah. So okay,
Thanks.
so basically, yeah. So no worries. So let's go. Let me see here. I have like a few informations here about the main functionalities, but I will try to show you this in live, so I will not go very deeply here. So like I said, you can create and manage research objects with high quality. You can share and reference them, of course, because they have some permanent identifiers. You can also create in the aggregation of other research objects, so this is also possible. You can collaborate with your colleagues when creating the research objects. So, the research objects have different levels of access. So it can be public, it can be private, it can be open. So depending on that, you can also decide who can read, who can modify the research object. You can, of course, manage the evolution. So like snapshot and releases, these are like releases that you make in GitHub or any other software control system. You can also make forks as well. This is the same philosophy here as any other source control systems. Of course, you can publish with a DOI. You can also monitor and follow a particular research object, so you can get like a feed, and then anytime that somebody modifies the research object or there is a change in the quality, you get notifications. And you can also rate, make favorites, that kind of things. So basically, these are some of the services that are around or giving added value to what the core of RoHub platform provides. So on the one hand, we have all of this semantic enrichment. So basically, services that are going, this is also from Reliance, services that is coming into the content and of the research object and try to extract and identify relevant information in the research object and then put it into semantic metadata, semantic tags, right? So this is something that you will see as well. Based on this metadata, there is also what we call the recommendation spheres that allows you to see, research objects that are related to the one in the middle, or researchers that are related, and so on. There is the social impact, like I said, with the rates, the evolution part. In the evolution part, you can also publish the release in other repositories like Zenodo or B2Share, and the quality that you asked before. So you have, like I said, this checklist, but also the fairness, which is now being integrated. And finally, of course, the integration with the EGI AAI, basically, so you can use the same mechanisms to log into RoHub. These are the integrations that we have already in RoHub. So basically, you have here Adam platform. This is a Earth Science data cube platform. So this is another service of Reliance, but of course you can access this from RoHub. The text mining enrichment services that I mentioned, also from Reliance. And then we have EGI Notebook, EGI Binder, Zenodo, B2Share, B2Drop, Argos, the OpenAir Research Graph, and the EGI Check-in. So all of these services have been integrated in RoHub one way or the other. So of course, it depends how you are going to use the service, but I will show you in a moment how this works. But these are many connections that you can have. So at the end, the RoHub becomes also some kind of virtual research environment, which gives you access to many other services as well. Okay. Yeah, so there is a lot of documentation here, I will give you the links. I will leave, of course, the presentation so you can have access to the links. And yeah, so with that, I can go directly to the platform. You have any questions till now? No, it's fine. Okay, so okay, so this is like the entry point. Right now we are using reliance.rohub.org, which is the entry point to the service. And basically, of course, well, here you see some kind of future research objects and some statistics of the activity. The first thing that you need to do is sign in. So I will maybe just to make show you like a new user. I will go in incognito mode, so I will not use my previous credentials.
Would you mind just putting that window full screen?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, this will not change much the size, but anyway, so I go here like a new user, completely new user. I can of course increase the font if you like, but so this is like a new user. So you have the possibility basically to log in via EGI check-in, which is like the main way of doing that. Okay, so you go here and then you select, of course, your organizations that you will be using to log in. It depends, of course, on your organization or okay, and then you log in, right? So that's basically the first step here. So once you are there, logged in, well, there are many things you can do. Of course, you can go to explore and see what research objects are available there. You can see here next to them also the completeness and that kind of things. You can search, doing some filtering based on the semantic metadata. And you can also directly go to the resources search as well. So this will give you the possibility to search individual resources, not the research object, but also individual resources, right? But of course, you can see the people or researchers that are in the platform. And of course, if you, I don't know, if you see one of the people, you can see some details and the research objects that this person has created, for example, right? Okay, so if we open a research object, so.
Benjamin?
Yes, Benjamin, sorry.
Yeah, my question is, so you collect this data or the stuff based on various platforms, right? So I don't know, Zenodo, probably what is the other one? Pangea platform, yeah, and so on and so forth. Is there like, there's nothing more to that, right? Like you like, except for like putting in some more metadata and then basically creating this federation of these providers. There's like basically no size limit or something except for the platform size limit, for instance. So Pangea has, I think, 10 gigabytes of size limits, Zenodo 50, and so on. So you don't imply anything on this matter, on the federation, you know, like there are no rules or something that you say, no, we can't share this data or so. It's just the research objects are collected on RoHub. Correct?
Yeah. So like it was also more or less described by Bjorn. Basically, as you can see this research object as a proxy, basically. So it's like the spider, basically spider web that connects the resources that are physical in different locations. So the actual size of the research object is normally minimum, right? So it's because it's just metadata. So the resources physically, they reside in Zenodo. They can have like, gigas, or they can be in GitHub or whatever. So it really doesn't matter. where the resources are. Of course, you can also upload resources to the platform if you don't have any other, place. But this is not like the main purpose of this. But I will show you when it might be a good purpose for that. But I will show you in a second. So, okay. So basically, so this is a research object, right? So one X research object, example research object that I just took from Anne, one of the researchers here. So you see, of course, in the overview, there is a description of, well, first the title, who is the creators, who has contributed to the research object, the publisher, and then, of course, some description, some sketch of the research. If there is some location associated to this research object, you will have it somewhere here, but I guess in this case it didn't happen. But you have the content of the research object, and here you can see that some of these resources are links, and some of these resources are files. So these files are physical resources, and these links are just somewhere on the web, basically. Then, of course, you can see more information about the activity, or, the life cycle here as well, or even some kind of similar research object that are retrieved based. Now, this is based on some few metadata, which is not taking into account all of the discover metadata, but the most relevant information will be retrieved once the semantic enrichment information is taken into account. So here on the right, you see some information like the completeness, and this discover metadata, which is coming from this added value service that I mentioned before. Of course, here you can download the research object, you can copy the feed, and you can do some kind of fork, for example, of this research object. And here you can share it. This is the shared link. This is the most important link whenever you are sharing your research object, because this is like a permanent identifier. So this is like a W3 ID link, right? So this is a permanent identifier which redirects to the location in the portal if it's open on the web, but it can also redirect to the semantic metadata file. That means turtle or RDF or whatever, if you depending on the content negotiation, basically. So, and of course you can put it in different platforms. This is how it's cited, who is the copyright holder, and the license. So that's basic information. You can go now more in deep to the content and see here more information about the resources. For each resource, you can also have additional metadata. So when you select this resource, for example, you see the title, where is the original link, because this is a web resource. If it's a media, you can also even get here some preview, the description, license, keywords, all of this for each resource. And the most important is that you can see here the type. This is a video, and this is a remote resource, basically. Okay, so here, for example, to make it like this is like a local one. So this is not external. So this is a local resource. This is a sketch, and this is the image. So then you go to completeness. Basically, it's having like I mentioned, a set of requirements. These requirements have been made based on the type of the research object. So there, so if you go back to overview, which I didn't show you, actually important, is these tags on the top here. These tags on the top tells you, first of all, that this is a public research object, that it was manually created, that this is a live research object, this is a basic research object, this is related to the environmental data science book community, and the main resource is a video for this research object. So all of this information, you can have it on the tags. So based on the type of research object, which is this one, you have some pre-existing checklists. And in this case, the checklist for the basic one is this one. It checks that the research object has a title, has a description, creator, publisher, blah, 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 blah. All of these metadata. So if this is not completed, of course, you will get the information that something is missing. There are some functionalities that allows you to create your own checklist, but this is, of course, for another time, because this is like more advanced features. You can create your own checklist. Then with enrichment tab, basically, depending, of course, on the research object. So some of them may have a lot of information, some not. So for example, here you see there are three main modes: topics, key elements, and entities. So in topics, you have like which media topics were identified, or the fields of research from the NASA subject classification, and so on. If you go to the key elements, well, you see for example, sentences that were identified by the semantic annotation and enrichment. So this, for example, is here. So these are key elements that are really coming from the semantic analysis of the text, not only from the description, but also from the text that is inside the research object, like resources. So you can also find lemmas, you know, phrases, concepts, so all of this information. And then, okay, so you have entities here. If they are identified, for example, like time references for over 20 years. So yeah, so this is on enrichment. Then of course you have the activity, so who did what. So this is like provenance information, the life cycle, relations. If there are relations between resources, you will be able to find them here. And then you can see some information about the impact of views, activities, and so on. That's more or less the basic information. So there is a lot of things, of course. As a user, you don't need to use all of these tabs. It really depends on what you really need for your research and what are your people requiring. So basically, with the overview provides usually enough information for all the people, but if there is something else necessary, you can go to the other ones. So, okay, so that's basically the research object. So if you go to My Arrows, this is where you create a new research object. You can see, of course, your own research objects. Also, you can see which other research objects are editable. So that means that somebody else gave me permission to modify research object, which is not mine. And of course, then you have the creation wizard. So this is like a, I need to log in again, sorry. Because I am in the incognito mode. I will go back to my normal view. Yeah, so My Arrows. Okay, so I'm here to create a new research object. So as you see, there are some basic information. What is minimum? So the title, for example, is minimum. So I need to provide like a C scale alliance cooperation and this and the purposes. Then you provide the access mode, right? So by default is public, you know, in line with at least open science. So you can also add people who will be able to modify, because in public mode means that everybody can read, but only the people with permissions can modify. And here you specify who can modify. So this is the owner, the research area. So for example, well, I don't know what is here, Earth sciences, right? So I will put Earth sciences. And then here you specify the type of research object. So we have very simple set of research objects. So for example, an executable research object, and then you can specify a template to create the research object. This is the minimum. This is the minimum that you were asking at the beginning. So with this part, you can, of course, just basically, well, create and continue, and then this will take a while, as this is creating a new executable research object. So of course, if you create a basic one, is much faster. But okay, so this creates the research object. So now here, as you can see, there are many things that you can do. So you can specify who are the people associated here. I don't know, for example, select one. This is an author or a contributor, right? If the user doesn't exist, of course, you can create a new user here. And the same with organizations. No, so, I will add somebody else. So I will add. Yeah, so I will add somebody here, like authors. And organizations here. I don't know. Now, people computing and networking. Wait, but this is the other one. And we just add. So this is like the publisher, for example. So with this, I can go here. Then I can do, provide some keywords here. I don't know, C scale, or what is the main entity in this research object? At this point, we don't know. So if there are some communities, you put it here, and so on. Then you go here, the sketch. So, I mean, this is where you actually put some, like, I don't know, some picture, like the sketch of your research. And then you go to resources. As you see, I have already like a template, because this is an executable research object. So there is like a template associated with that. So I can, of course, upload, for example, I don't know, my test notebook. And then, of course, I need to provide this is like a test notebook. I need to provide that this is a Jupyter notebook, the license, and that's it. Wait, it was test notebook here. Okay, so there's my note. And this is like a Jupyter notebook, the license. Okay, so you add as many resources as you want. I will add just two, because I want to show you something later on. But so I will add here another resource, which is my requirements.txt. So this is requirements, and this is just a file.
So Raul, in this example, you're uploading files.
Yeah. And
so you're uploading files. So then in this case, does it act pretty much the same as like a GitHub?
In this case, yeah. So you can, of course, add here the link. So this is I'm adding internal resource, but I could also add like an external resource to Zenodo. Let me add one example here. So Zenodo, I don't know, this one.
And then the files that you're loading now would be automatically versioned?
No, the resources are not versioned individually. They are versioned as part of the research object. So the research object can have versions, right? But as a research object.
So then if we finish this workflow and we create our research object, then we'll have version 0. And then I can update it, and then it'll create version 0.1. Is that how it works?
The research object is alive. You create and you modify, and it's alive. When you reach like a point in time where you want to make a release, then you make a snapshot. This is the first like version 1 of the
Oh, so the releases are the versions. Okay.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So this is my external resource. This is like I don't know, article, and that's it. Okay, so yeah, so then I can here you have also, you know, location, so you can specify the geographical location associated to the research object. And then of course you create the license. The license, you can also specify the grant. So here I can say, I don't know, grant's name, Reliance. This is coming from OpenAir, right? The chosen graph. And this is the European Commission. Yeah, okay. So and this is basically done. I will not go into the advanced metadata because it's not the time for that, but just with that I created my research object basically. And this is what you have after that. Okay, so just with that you can have now the link to share it. So this is your link to share your research object. You can cite the research object because it's a permanent identifier. And you have all of the information here related to your research. As you see, there is an external data, and these are some internal resources. So it really doesn't matter how or where you are putting this. Now, I just wanted maybe quickly one last thing because we don't have time, of course, because there are too many things. But for example, when you have like a notebook, Jupyter notebook, you see in the information to download the resource, you can open the resource directly in EGI notebook. So if you click here, this will take you to EGI notebook, and this will open the notebook there for you, and you can start working, you know, execute it basically.
And will that work even if I put down a GitHub link to a notebook?
Yes, it works exactly the same way. So the notebook can be external, can be in GitHub, you know, it's not, but you have to put, of course, the link to the notebook. That's the only thing, right? So
Yeah, of course. Yeah, not the repository.
Yeah. So that's one thing, but there is another more interesting thing that I don't know if you are aware that is also possible now in EOS, which is that you don't only open the notebook and reproduce, you know, execute it in EGI, but you can tell exactly which environment you want to reproduce to run your notebook. So you are not loading just the notebook, but you are creating the whole environment.
Yeah, so that's using my binder. Yeah.
And that's using my binder. Yeah. And then you can do the same here. So basically I am going here to my notebook. And sorry, I need to go to the edition mode. So if I go to the resources, to my notebook, I am going to say that this has software requirements, which is the requirement.txt, but can be the, you know, requirements.yaml, you know, whatever it is. So you put this, right? And you can also even say requires data set, and then put some resource here from your research object, and this will be loaded into your binder, so then it will be accessible from your binder to use it. So
hang on. Are you saying that if I put down like a Copernicus data source, it'll make that data source available? No, surely not.
Well, I mean, I don't think we were not expecting like a Copernicus, huge data set, but if you have like, sometimes
Like
series or
okay, like
whatever,
a okay, like a CSV file or something like that.
CSV, yeah, some kind of data in that sense that you
Okay.
can upload. This will be uploaded to Binder and then will be accessible from there.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay, so there's so not a big data set, but like a yeah. Okay, I'm with you. Okay.
Björn, I would like to see the 8 petabytes downloaded onto my EGI notebook from Sentinel-1 Level 1C collection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you have to expectation management, right?
So now if I go here to content and I go to my notebook, now I see open resource in Binder because this has now associated a requirements.txt. And if I click here, then this will go to Binder and, start recreating my virtual machine based on the requirements.txt, basically. And of course, like I said, if there is some data, you can also, it will be loaded. This takes time because it's just,
Of course, yeah, it's spinning up a virtual machine, yeah.
Yeah. So it takes time. So I will leave it here for a while. But okay, so that's some of the things. I don't know how much time we have, but I have so many other things that you can do from here. But for example, these are data cubes. So this data cubes is from Adam that I mentioned before. This is the Adam Data Cubes platform. So we have connected to the platform. I don't know. Let's just take one of the data sets here. From there, you can directly aggregate the whole data cube collection, or you can go to a particular data cube product, like any. Of course, there are. Depends on the metadata. You can also search, but it depends on the metadata available. And yeah, so for example, if I just create this part, I just make this quickly, this entry to my Adam. So this is a data cube, which I go here and I can open the resource in Adam platform. So this goes to Adam platform, tells me that it will be loading. And this is loading the data set in Adam platform. So you see here, this is the data cube that we have just added into the research object.
That's very nice, eh? It's lovely integration.
But Raul, this is only showing the data. There's no analysis connected with Adam, correct?
No, this is just directly the results of Adam, like, the output of the data cube, basically, that we are connecting here.
Additional question, what is behind this technology? Is there a stack involved, or do you know that?
Which technology? Adam, you mean, or?
No, the catalog, the metadata catalog. Are you using Stack or?
This one, yeah. So we have another discussion now with Charis and the other guys. So there is a Stack, and this will be available via C-Scale catalog.
Okay,
soon.
perfect. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. That's great. So you're integrating C-Scale, the metadata catalog from C-Scale into this as well. So you can find
the other way around. Beyond.
The other way around, because this is from Adam. Okay. Yeah, we didn't. Yeah,
oh, right. Yeah.
But it could be very nice to think about the other way. To be honest, we could integrate the. Now it's just enough.
Actually, but, I'm looking behind me because there's someone needing a comms data. So that that would be really nice to have available soon.
So okay, so we are basically done. I mean, I don't have time for showing the rest of the stuff, but one last thing quickly I just wanted to mention is in the account settings, for example, when you see here, you can specify also which one is your default storage that you use to store your physical files. So the one that you are really uploading to RoHub. So you can use the default one, which is basically an internal S3 storage at PSNC, which, you know, normally we don't have any, you know, limitations, hard limitations on that. And you can use B2Drop. So that means that the resources here in this research objects will be also accessible from B2Drop. So if you go here to your B2Drop, you know, there is going to be a folder called RoHub research objects. And here, of course, not so nice, but it's like based on the ID of your research object, right? So here you have your, where was it? Your research object. So this is, you know, the identifier is what you have here, right? And you can, well, it's this one actually. And this is the resources that I just created, and they are here.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And not only that, you can also create from here another resource, and this will appear in RoHub as well. So you can create from B2Drop, and this will be reflected in RoHub, in the research object.
So tell me, is Reliance offering this service as a service? And like, and what are the pay? Because this looks very interesting from I'm thinking just from Deltaris's point of view. This could be very useful in terms of, transparency about the research that we do and sharing it with just internally with our colleagues even. So I'm curious about the cost implications as well, like post Reliance project, I guess.
Yeah, so we are doing this via virtual access, like all the other projects on EOS Infra EOS 07. There is definitely a part of the my organization's roadmap to continue the delivery of this service, right? So as a free point, as I said, there is no, you can of course upload resources to RoHub, but it's not the main purpose unless you want to have them also in your B2Drop, like here. But in that case, your constraint is B2Drop, not RoHub, because in that case your quota in B2Drop is the one that dictates how much resources you can store in physical research objects, right?
Yeah.
So
and is there an option, for example, for me to host my own local instance of this?
So there is no available as in the EOS offering now, but it's available, or at least it's in the roadmap for availability of RoHub as a product that can be also put another instance in another places, because we had also some kind of requirements for doing internally for organizations like ESA, for example. We had we are having some discussions with them for something like this.
And then what would it be possible, for example, to if I could I connect my own data storage facility with what you're demonstrating now? For example, I've got a data facility where we store all of our files and stuff in Deltaris, and can we connect that through? Could we connect, for example, a Deltaris S3 bucket with this, and then store our data there?
Yeah, for sure. The RoHub is created with S3, and you can connect any S3 backend storage. Like that, in the architectural wise, you can connect any kind of storage. So if you, for example, deploy RoHub in another place, you can of course specify another S3 bucket or container, and then this will use this other one. So it's for sure, that's not a problem. So we have like an S3 interface to access the storage, basically.
So what you're saying is I could use this interface, this service that you're showing here on the website, but I could put the information onto my storage that I have, my S3 bucket at Deltaris. Yeah,
exactly. So all of these resources that I uploaded here, instead of going into our S3 or B2Drop, this will go to your S3, for example, in another storage, in another
then I can also control access, and via, for example, EGI, I can manage who's got access to the research objects, or is everything open?
I mean, you can see who is modifying. Of course, you can also monitor the reads and all those kind of things, but I'm not sure if that's what you mean. I mean, like you
So
can see.
I meant, for example, if I publish any research object here, is it open to the world kind of thing, or
There
can...
is the option of putting it to private.
Yeah, there is an option to put it private.
That's right. And then you can specify who's got access, right?
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
okay. Okay, I'm with you. Okay, thank you. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
And yeah, and the last thing is like I mentioned also, this is connected to the open air research graph. So now the research objects are accessible from EOSC basically. So you can search this here, you will find these research objects. Of course, this is like,
So that in turn, essentially, if you publish your research objects here, you have the opportunity to reach a broader audience because it's going to get published in open air and EOSC and all of those things.
yeah, but this is automatic. You don't need to publish this. So you know, open air is harvesting from all the different repositories, and they harvest from RoHub, right?
Okay, great. So this process, Sebastian, that we're going through to register our workflow solutions on the EOS portal, we could actually also go via RoHub instead of via Zenodo, as we're doing currently.
Correct.
The difference is what you want to publish or to release, because you know Zenodo is a great place for publishing your individual resources, but if the research object is, like I said, is giving you like a contextualized,
it's a collection of things. Yeah,
collection of things, right? So that's what you have here, which is much more than just like a repo, right?
Yeah. No, I really like this. I think this is really useful. So for research in general. So
I wanted to ask for a
Yes.
very long time now.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to develop this? Because it's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like I show you. So this it's a software that we started in 2010, basically. Of course, it was
Okay.
like
Okay.
a proof of concept. Then
Okay.
it was like a prototype product
Okay.
until we really make it like a fully
Mm.
fledged product now. Mhm.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, it definitely sounds very interesting, and we could use it, I think, for our stuff.
Yeah, because we have, for example, Aqua Monitor has been published in Zenodo already.
Mhm.
And that's only the code, you're right. But then
Yeah.
we also have YouTube videos, we have news items, we have
and we've got it, and there's a Nature publication associated with Aqua Monitor, and there's also the Google Earth Engine implementation. So all of those things you could put there, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And
That's
the
very cool.
reference to the stack catalog that actually exposes all Aqua Monitor readily available products, right?
Yeah.
Hosted on Cscale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when you make the snapshot, what I mentioned, this is where you can make like a version of this. So a snapshot is like a like a picture of the research object at this point in time, and this you can associate a DOI to the snapshot or of the research object.
Okay, so when you finish the workflow of submitting the research object, that's when you get the DOI, or only when you do the snapshot?
Only when you do snapshots or archives, right? So basically, this, because in theory DOIs should be immutable. So and in this case,
okay, so when it's an archive, does that mean you no longer edit it afterwards? This is like the final. Nobody's going to change anything to this research object. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like a picture of the research object at this point in time. Yeah. So so of course, if you have like questions or any other doubts, we can think about discussing more. But I think from a very simple point of view, whatever results that you are doing from your research in Cscale, you can create like a research object from that, as our use cases in Reliance are doing. So it's like, just to put all the context to the resources, and also being able to do something with the resources directly from the platform, right? So that's
Yeah.
I searched for Earth observation data earlier and there's none. So yeah, if you put filter on research areas, Earth observation, then not all Earth sciences, but
Earth observation.
yeah, only Earth observation is the top one, the very top one of the list.
Okay, so maybe
There's like one. Okay, no,
Second.
there's a couple of ones, but somehow mine didn't load. Anyway, that's all fine.
Maybe you go one level deeper.
Yeah, I had searched for something beforehand. Maybe the filter was not
yeah,
deleted or something. Yeah.
So yeah, these are 30, but yeah, it all relies on people putting the correct tags, of course. So that's yeah. So
No, this is very, very useful. I think so. We've gone through the process with WaterWatch and AquaMonitor to some extent, right? I'm thinking now maybe the LSDA use case could be interesting, and I wonder.
I suggest we stop the recording, giving thanks to Raul, and then we discuss a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the time to present, Raul. I'll stop the recording now.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, that was